Alright, welcome back guys. So this week I'm going to teach you how to make a quiche. So what is a quiche? A quiche is essentially an egg pie. So it's if we can make small ones, we can make large ones like this. So let's get to it. So the first thing we need to do is make a crust. And this is just a standard traditional pie crust. So we have about 1 1¼ cups of flour. Add that in. About a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and then a 1/2 cup of butter. So 1 stick is a 1/2 cup of butter. All right, so we're going to start with those ingredients, and then we also have a 1/4 cup of water, ice water. So make sure it's ice water. So what I did with this butter, I just took it and froze it, and then put it through a cheese grater, so the box grater, and grated it up. You could just dice this and then cool it back down, but you want to make sure you start with nice cold butter. Okay, so once you get that, put it into your bowl, and then we're just going to pastry blend this together. So use your pastry blender and bring this together until it forms like pea-size balls inside there. So we're just cutting this. And the whole goal of this is to make sure everything stays nice and cold. So I'm only going to touch this when I have to, because your hands are hot and it'll transfer all that heat into the butter and melt it. So if you want a nice flaky crust, you want to have this as cold as possible. So it's all about pea size now. Okay, we got all the flour incorporated in there, all the butter incorporated with the flour. All right, now what we're gonna do is take our water. So I have, again, about a 1/4 cup of ice water, and we're gonna add about 1/2 of that, making sure we don't put any ice in there. So add about 1/2 of that, blend it up again, and we're gonna see where we're at with that. We can kind of just blend that. You'll see it start to kind of come together, start to form. So this shouldn't be a sticky dough, but it shouldn't be dry either. So you can see it's still a little pretty dry right now. I go ahead and add some more water, and we'll do this about a tablespoon at a time until we get the consistency we're looking for. And once it starts coming together, then we're gonna have to use our hands. All right, I'm gonna add just a little bit more water, and then use my hands. So I'm going to need just a little bit more water in this to get it together. So again, maybe another tablespoon. We'll do about a tablespoon at a time until it gets a little closer. You can make this in a RoboCube or food processor as well. So now we can see it starting to really come together. Gonna need about another tablespoon of water. Now, I can't do much with this anymore. Just gonna use my hands real quick and finish the mixing. Okay? We're just trying to work that water around. Again, this shouldn't be too sticky and not too dry. And again, try to handle this as little as possible. Normally you want to put this back in the fridge after you mix it, just to get that butter cooled back down. You don't really want to overmix this because you want those nice big butter flakes inside there. So once you get it together, take it out, put it here. Having those big butter flakes in there will actually, whenever that butter melts away, that's what makes the crust all flaky. So don't overmix it, just get it mixed enough. All right, so that looks good there. Now what we'll do, take some flour our surface, that out of your guys' way, and then we're gonna roll it out and make a pie shell. So flatten it down a little bit, grab a rolling pin, and roll it out to where it's a nice circle. And you should be able to see a little bit of that flour, a little bit of that butter inside there. If it sticks to your roller, just flour it up. And make sure that it's round, make sure it's a circle. So start from the middle, kind of pull it in the direction that you want to go. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. We'll cut it to fit, but just make sure it's not oblong or square or something like that. Make sure you roll it out enough to where it'll fit in your pie shell or your pie pan, whatever you're using. But you don't want it too thin to where it's just there's not gonna be anything. So it's gotta be bigger than your pie pan, but we don't want to waste a lot of it. And you want it maybe about a 1/4 inch thick here. We're gonna go ahead and spray our pie pan. Take it, place it right in our pie pan, like so. Mold it to the pie pan. Make sure you're getting any air bubbles out of the bottom here. And I pull from the side, push my fingers into that little corner there, and then push the side back up. Okay? It's all in there. Make sure you don't have any where it kind of crosses over or something like that. And then you can just take a pair of scissors and actually just cut what you don't need away. A pair of kitchen shears. We'll cut what we don't need away. Just go right around the outside of that, cutting what you don't need. Fold it all over. All right. Now to make it look a little nicer, all we have to do is take it with one hand and you can just pinch it like this. So taking your thumb, push it between those two fingers and you just pinch it to make a little indentation in there. Okay, and just keep going around and around like that. And there's other things we could do to it if we wanted to. But that'll give it a nice looking crust so it's not just so plain. I mean, you could take a fork and mash it around and give it some texture that way, but just to give it something. And this doesn't have to be perfect. I actually kind of prefer it if it's not. That way people know, it's a homemade pie shell. So it's not a store-bought pie shell that's perfect all the way around. All right. And now all we gotta do is we're gonna par bake this. So a couple more things I wanted to show you. We're going to put some weights inside here. If we just put this in the oven just like this, it would actually fall down inside there and we wouldn't be able to fill it up later since we have to par bake this. So what you wanna do, take a piece of parchment, fold it in half. Then take that piece of parchment, fold it in half again. Okay, so you have a rectangle. Now all you're gonna do is fold this from that center point into little tiny triangles like this. Okay? Keep going until you've overlapped all of it. Now all you do is take a pair of scissors, take that point, put it right in the center of your pie. We want this to overhang just a little bit to go up on the side, so we're gonna cut it a little bit bigger. But put this point right in the middle of your pie, and then you're just gonna cut it to the length of where your pie goes. Kind of angle it around like that. Now, you get a circle, it goes right inside your pie. So like I said, I cut it a little bit bigger just so I could fill it up and not have anything on the sides here. So what you want to do now, again, is we want to put weights in there so that we can hold it up so that it maintains its shape while we par bake it. But first, we need to go ahead and poke some holes in this just so it doesn't get any big puff marks in it. Go all the way around the sides, go on the bottom. Put your parchment in there. Fill it full of beans. We're gonna use beans here. They make weights for these, but beans work just fine and we use them over and over again. So fill it all the way up. Make sure you get all of the pie filled up so it can't fall. And then put it on the sheet tray, pop it in the oven. And we're gonna par bake it until it's nice and golden brown on those edges. So probably about 5 to 10 minutes. And then we'll take it out and fill it with filling. All right guys, welcome back. So we got our pie crust out of the oven. It was in there for about 15 minutes. What we're gonna do now is I have a bowl with about 10 eggs in it. I'll go ahead and whisk that up a little bit so it's nice and smooth. We're gonna go ahead and add about half a cup of heavy cream to this. Incorporate that in, get it nice and whisked around. Should look about like that. You go ahead and salt this. Pepper. Give that one more stir. Now we're gonna build our frittata. Actually, I'm gonna go ahead and put the cheese and the herbs in there. So what I'm doing with this one is super simple. I'm doing diced ham, tomatoes, cheese, and some coarse chopped parsley. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the parsley in the eggs. Go ahead and put the cheese in the eggs. Just get that all whisked around. And now you just layer the bottom of your pie, I guess you want to call it, your quiche with your ingredients. So spread it around in there. You could put the cheese on the bottom as well, but I really like to have it kind of all throughout the eggs. So spread that around. Go ahead and put your tomatoes in there. And you can put as little or as much filling as you want in this. And then just dump your egg mixture right over the top. And so 10 eggs might be a little ambitious for this, but we'll see. So you can fill this all the way up or not all the way, depending on how big of a quiche you want. One thing to remember though is this will puff up, it's egg, so it will bake up, just like everything we put egg into. Make sure you don't put cheese in there. So don't overfill it. Now we'll take this, put it back into the oven. Again, we're baking this at about 350. And it's done whenever the eggs are fully cooked through. So we'll take a look at this in 15 to 20 minutes. You can start.
I did.
Okay. Alright guys, so this is kind of what it looks like whenever it comes out. The crust is nice and cooked. You want to check it to make sure it's done. Just take anything, insert it in there. If it comes out dry, it's done. So like I said, it'll puff up a little bit whenever it's done as well. And whenever it rests a little bit, it will sink back in on itself. So that is a quiche, and we'll make that in class this week.